From the pages of MikeHuckabee.com, which is home of the always free Huckabee newsletter. That's where you can get my insights beamed right to your email inbox twice a day. Let's take a little look back at another week that was. Now we know how the Biden administration is going to pay for dealing with the flood of unaccompanied migrant children that poured in when Joe Biden reversed all of Donald Trump's border security policies. How? By diverting billions in federal funds allocated for emergency medical initiatives for Americans, things that were going to be used for COVID testing. Politico reports that hundreds of new migrant children are arriving at the border every single day. And that's on top of the more than 20,000 minors who are in the custody of the Department of Health and Human Services. And the price tag to house them, it's only going up. Politico says there's no indication that the Biden administration will even ask Congress for more money to pay for all this. They'll just keep reallocating your tax dollars. By the way, to the tune of tens of millions of dollars every single week. The border crisis is so bad that Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra, who is a liberal Democrat, has argued to keep President Donald Trump's cap on refugee admissions to the U.S. That's a shocker. According to Politico, this idea is rankling the White House. In March, border guards encountered the most unaccompanied children in history, and criminal alien arrests at the border, already over 6,000 since the Trump administration policies were thrown out the window in January. The term criminal alien is a legal term, and it refers to migrants with criminal convictions for state and federal crimes. You know, things like murder, sexual assault, robbery, narcotics, and even more. In other words, the very people Donald Trump warned about in 2015 when he rode down that escalator to announce his candidacy for president, it's coming true. If there's one thing Democrats cannot stomach, it's the notion that Donald Trump might have been right about something all along. Well, on to the Twitterverse, where war is peace, freedom is slavery, and genders can be bent any which way you like. Twitter suspended a Spanish politician for 12 hours for alleged hate speech. Hate speech? Here's what it was. He reacted to an article about a transgender male who gave birth by tweeting that a man cannot get pregnant because he has no uterus or eggs. Let that sink in for a minute. Francisco Jose Contreras responded to Twitter's brainwashing and censoring by refusing to knuckle under. And he told LifeSite News, "We will not yield to Twitter imposing a twisted and biologically wrong worldview. We will continue to speak the truth about human nature. Biological truth should not be regarded as hate speech." And this is a line I love. "It's biology, not bigotry." That's great. And then there's this video that made the rounds. If you didn't know better, you'd think it was 2019. Nancy Pelosi and other prominent Democrats yucking it up at the White House. No mask, no social distancing. This is just as Speaker Pelosi is still enforcing a mask mandate for members of Congress on the House floor. Not wearing a mask in accordance with the Speaker's ironclad rule, you can be fined $500 for the first offense and $2,500 for subsequent offenses. You know, if Republicans ever wind up retaking the House, they ought to impose some arbitrary rules on Democrats. I'm thinking $500 fines for anyone refusing to wear maybe snakeskin boots or MAGA hats. Well, next up, a shame on you, and this is a doozy. PBS, that's right, you help pay for public broadcasting system. PBS, the public television outlet that your tax dollars, as I say, really do pay for, they decided the following video is suitable and educational for children. Now, I won't subject you to the actual video. You can find it yourself if you're feeling masochistic. But PBS felt children between 3 and 8 years old ought to see a drag queen named Little Miss Hot Mess and see her sing a song about her hips going swish, swish, swish all over town. This bizarre skit was part of a PBS series called Let's Learn. produced in partnership with, no surprise, the New York City Department of Education. Lord knows what the educational message is supposed to be there, but we've come a long way from Sesame Street. Finally, a couple of shout-outs. First to Missouri attorney Mark McCloskey. He was the one targeted for political prosecution last year because he dared to show a gun to a threatening mob of Black Lives Matter protesters on his front lawn when they invaded it. McCloskey this week announced his run for U.S. Senate as a Republican. McCloskey explained that he's running because, and I quote, "God came knocking on my door disguised as an angry mob. It really did wake me up," end quote. I'll bet it did wake him up, woke a lot of us up. He said while campaigning with Donald Trump last year, he learned that the American people are fed up with posers and do-nothing politicians, and they're fed up with having their freedom taken away. And they're sick and tired of cancel culture and the poison of critical race theory and the big lie of systemic racism, all backed up by the threat of mob violence. And in other state political news, Andrew Giuliani, the son of Rudolph Giuliani, announced his candidacy for governor of the formerly great state of New York. My only question is this: can you start the job right now? I guess we'll see if New Yorkers have learned their lesson with Andrew Cuomo. Well, until next time, these have been the facts of the matter.
Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, then subscribe, and hit the notification bell below. Now, if you didn't like it, you ought to find a Ben Shapiro video to detox you with more facts.